From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update. Sponsored by LCS Heating and Cooling.
Hi, I'm Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Wednesday, December 8th. A cloudy start to the day. It's on deck before a mix of sun and clouds move in. Temperatures will get to the upper 30s to low 40s. And we have a first look at some of the first research done specifically to see how existing COVID-19 vaccines handle the Omicron variant. Pfizer just released the results this morning. The key takeaways: a 2-dose series of shots is not nearly as protective against Omicron as a 3-shot or booster series is. Pfizer is also putting a timeline on its efforts to develop an Omicron-specific version of the vaccine. The company hopes to have it ready by March if it's necessary. And Dr. Anthony Fauci speaks about its spread, severity, and other effects of the Omicron variant. In a White House briefing yesterday, Fauci says evidence at the molecular level confirm Omicron is transmitting more quickly than other versions of the virus. He also says it's still too soon to know if it tends to cause more or less severe illness, but that the cases so far have not had a severe profile. Fauci says Omicron appears to have an increased ability to reinfect people who've already had a bout with other variants. And this morning, we are continuing to work on major developments surrounding the murders of 2 girls in Delphi. It has been nearly 5 years since the deaths of Abby Williams and Libby German. There's new police focus on a fake social media account. We broke the news yesterday morning on wishtv.com that the same account is tied to a child pornography case in Indiana. Our team coverage begins with News 8's Demi Johnson, who uncovered the actual court documents.
Detectives with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office and the Indiana State Police have uncovered an online profile named Anthony Schatz.
Monday night, Indiana State Police put out a call looking for teenage girls, victims of a social media profile with the name Anthony Schatz. They say the account is fake, using pictures of a known male model to trick young girls into sending sexual photos and videos. Authorities discovered the account while investigating the February 2017 murders of Abby Williams and Libby German in Delphi.
Investigators would like any individual who communicated, met, or attempted to meet the Anthony Schatz profile to contact law enforcement by utilizing the tip email, Abby and Libby tip at cacoshrf.com.
The announcement does not directly tie the account to the murders. Today, I uncovered court documents from Miami County showing now 27-year-old Keegan Anthony Klein told the FBI he opened the account. That revelation came during a February 25th, 2017 interview with state police and the FBI less than 2 weeks after the Delphi killings. Investigators say Klein took a polygraph test and admitted using the account and other social media platforms to get more than 100 sexual pictures and videos of underage girls. The criminal charges were filed in August of 2020, more than 3 years after the initial interviews. The heavily redacted documents do not publicly make any direct link to the deaths, but do reference the investigation started as part of another case involving state police and the FBI.
All that I really know is that she was on Instagram and Snapchat like a normal teenager. Of course, I'd never want to believe that she did anything different than what I would do or what anybody else I would think would do, but it's always possible.
Libby's sister, Kelsey German, tells me today that learning of the social media account has been a lot to take in.
I definitely feel like it's the same as when they released a whole new sketch after we'd been sharing the same thing over and over again. It feels like we're now looking at it, at the whole case completely differently and sharing completely new information.
In Indianapolis, I'm Demi Johnson for Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.
And to be clear, on this point, Klein has not been charged in connection with the Delphi case. In fact, no one has been arrested for the murders. We asked state police about his possible connection, and despite Monday's news release, they tell us they don't confirm or deny anyone who is or is not a suspect in any ongoing investigation. And the documents are giving us a new look as just how this investigation unfolded. The cases date back to February of 2017. Abby Williams and Libby German were dropped off on February 13th, 2017 at the Monon High Bridge Trail. It would be the last time they were ever seen alive. One day later, on Valentine's Day, the girls' bodies were recovered. The next day, police would release photos of a man who they considered their main suspect, wanted for questioning. Then, a week after that, on February 22nd, police released the infamous video of the suspect where you can hear him command the girls down the hill. 2 days after the video was released, police served a search warrant at the home of Keegan Kline and his father. During a search on February 25th, police confiscated 4 phones, a tablet, and an iPad from the residence. Later that night, police interviewed Keegan, where he admitted creating the fake Instagram account Anthony Shots, where he spoke to underage girls. Keegan had just returned from a trip to Las Vegas. 2 days after the search warrant was served, police received a call from Kline telling them there was another phone they didn't take in their original search. Investigators believe Keegan spent parts of those 2 days deleting apps, data, and web search history from the phone. Skip ahead to April of 2019, 2 years after the murders. ISP releases a new sketch and video clip of the suspect. Police said new information and intelligence led to the updated drawing and clarified the person in the first sketch was no longer considered a person of interest. And 1 year later to the day, in April of 2020, a new lead investigator is added to the child porn case involving Keegan Kline. Police meet with a Miami County prosecutor in June of that year, and 2 months later, Kline is charged with child porn. And our Team 8 is looking into the 3-year gap between the initial interview and the criminal charges of the Delphi double murder case. Team 8's Richard Essex went to an expert to find out possible reasons for the long wait.
Gaining access to a social media account requires a subpoena or a court order, but that does not guarantee that social media companies will comply. Doug Coons is a retired FBI agent and co-founder of Veracity IIR, a private investigative firm in Carmel. Coons has not worked on the murders of Libby and Abby. He is, however, well-versed in how police gain access to social media accounts. He says that access can almost be impossible if the social media provider is overseas. Even with existing treaties between the United States and foreign governments, court orders and subpoenas are often ignored. If the provider is on U.S. soil, police have only a slightly better chance of access.
What we in law enforcement investigations have dealt with recently, though, is pushback from these companies. Sometimes they're very protective of their users' privacy. So they often challenge those subpoenas and search warrants before complying with them.
Coons says that every time police release new information concerning this case, they get a flood of new tips. His firm has even received a few tips in the past, which he has forwarded on to investigators. Coons also believes that investigators had access to Libby and Abby's social media accounts very early on in the investigation. In Indianapolis, Richard Essex, Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.
In other news this morning, today the Senate is set to vote on a challenge to President Biden's COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Senator Mike Braun from Indiana is leading the opposition. It looks like he does have the votes he needs. Now, in September, Biden issued an executive order forcing all federal contractors' employees to be vaccinated. A federal judge in Georgia blocked the requirement yesterday. The mandate has also been blocked in Kentucky, Ohio, and Tennessee. Democratic Senators John Tester from Montana and Joe Manchin from West Virginia plan to vote with the GOP. According to the Biden administration, the president plans to veto the challenge if it makes it to his desk. And a bill that would pave the way for an increase in the federal debt ceiling is on its way to the Senate. The bill passed the House last night after an agreement between Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. The bill provides a one-time fast-track process for the Senate to raise the borrowing limit with a simple vote. It allows Democrats to pass the bill without facing a Republican filibuster. The legislation requires Congress to specify the exact amount of a new debt limit, likely more than $30 trillion. And today in Minneapolis, in the same courtroom where Derek Chauvin was convicted in the death of George Floyd, another former police officer will stand trial in the death of another black man. It happened during a traffic stop. There was a struggle, and you may remember Kim Potter says that she mistakenly pulled her gun instead of her taser, killing 20-year-old Dante Wright. She was charged with second-degree manslaughter. A few months after that, an additional charge, first-degree manslaughter for reckless handling of a firearm. Opening statements are set to begin this morning. If she's found guilty, she could face up to 15 years in prison on one charge and 10 years on the other. Body camera video will likely play a central role in the trial. Authorities in Saudi Arabia claim a man arrested for the murder of Jamal Khashoggi had nothing to do with it. Police in France took the man into custody yesterday morning. Saudi officials say it's a case of mistaken identity and are demanding his release. U.S. officials have long been convinced the man did have something to do with the crime. He is one of 16 people banned from traveling here because of it. Khashoggi is the Indiana State graduate and Washington Post columnist who was brutally killed inside the Saudi consulate in Turkey 3 years ago. And today, top officials at Instagram are set to testify on Capitol Hill. The social media company's CEO is facing questions from lawmakers over its child safety practices. Instagram and its parent company, now called Meta, have been under scrutiny over their effects on young users' mental health, body image, and online safety. According to Reuters, the app is rolling out several new features to better protect kids. The first feature comes out today and reminds users to take a break from the app after using it for a certain amount of time. Instagram also tells Reuters it's switching off the ability for people to tag or mention teens who do not follow them. And then starting in January, teen users will be able to bulk delete their content as well as previous likes and comments. In March, parents and guardians will be able to see how much time their children spend on the app and set time limits. Reuters also reports Instagram is working on controls to limit harmful or sensitive material suggested to teens through the search function, hashtags, and other features. And many of the major outages that paralyzed websites yesterday are improving, but not completely gone. Governments, companies, and schools across the country and around the world use Amazon's AWS network. The issues crippled Google, Venmo, DoorDash, Spotify, and many other large sites. DownDetector.com monitors internet outages and shows the problem reached a peak at about 11 in the morning, with more than 11,000 reported problems at a time when there are usually about 5. Today, here in Indianapolis, we'll hear more about a major music event coming to Garfield Park. An announcement will be made at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Representatives from Visit Indy, Indy Parks, and Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett will all be there. So check back in with Wish TV on News 8 at 5 and, of course, wishtv.com for the late-breaking details. Kenny Moore is the Colts' 2021 nominee for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award. The award recognizes players for their outstanding community service. Each team gets a nominee, with each getting up to $40,000 for a charity of their choice. The Colts say Moore dedicates time to helping sick children and donated thousands of dollars for the Tyler Trent Foundation, supporting cancer research in June. Finally, the American Red Cross is asking more people to donate blood as it faces historically low supply levels. The organization says busy holiday schedules, breaks from school, winter weather, and the pandemic are all contributing to the supply problem. It says if it doesn't get more donors soon, some patients requiring transfusions may see delays in their care. Later this month, the Red Cross is giving out T-shirts to encourage donors. That lasts December 17th through January 2nd. You can schedule an appointment now using the Red Cross Blood Donor app or website. You can also call the Red Cross at 1-800-RED-CROSS. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway. Online at wishtv.com and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
Sponsored by LCS Heating and Cooling. This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand for even more on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.